I'm Ashley Bullington, and this is the Warmup. 3 more weeks left in the season, and things are as tight as they can be in some districts, especially 7-6A, otherwise known as the District of Doom, where 5 teams are tied for first place. 4 of them face off against each other this Friday. Let's start off the show by breaking down those games, plus a couple others. Cedar Hill takes on South Grand Prairie Friday night. Both teams are tied with 3 others at 3-1 in district play. Both teams are coming off impressive wins as well. After a week of hearing how they've fallen off, the Longhorns have proved to be a team to reckon with by beating Lake Ridge 42-17. Shane Lawrence has shown he can lead a championship caliber team by throwing for 4 touchdowns last week. As for the Warriors, they got a big win over Summit last week and have won 3 straight district games heading into Friday. Another 7-6A game pits DeSoto against Mansfield Summit. DeSoto's only loss of the season came at the last second against Lake Ridge. The Eagles have athletes everywhere, and especially at the receiver position, where Vontae Chenault has caught 41 passes for almost 600 yards. The Jaguars have a tough road ahead of them, but a win against DeSoto could put them in prime playoff positioning. Another big game this week is the Mound Showdown in Flower Mound. The Jaguars are undefeated in district play and have surprised a lot of people with their ability to light up the scoreboard. As for Marcus, they're still in the hunt for a playoff spot, but at 2-2, they need to pick up a couple of wins down the stretch. A win over rival Flower Mound at home could go a long way for the Marauders. And finally, one of the area's best rivalry games takes place Friday night. Colleyville Heritage takes on Grapevine at Dragon Stadium. Both teams are playing second fiddle to Denton Ryan in Birdville, but they're also both locks for the playoffs. Heritage is led by Texas A&M bound Cam Brown, who's their big play threat at receiver. Cade Rhodes has led the Mustangs with over 1,700 yards passing and 25 touchdowns. Should be a good one. Should be a bunch of great games this week, just like there were last week. Speaking of last week, it's time to take a look at the 3 players who are in the running for this week's MVP bobblehead. Let's start with Flower Mound quarterback Blake Short. For the 2nd week in a row, he's nominated for MVP. And for the 2nd week in a row, he threw for 5 touchdowns. Against Hebron, Short also threw for 355 yards as the Jaguars pulled off an impressive 38-35 win. Cedar Hill quarterback Shane Lawrence is also in the running for MVP bobblehead. He threw for 4 touchdown passes and ran for 1 in a must-win game against Mansfield Lake Ridge. Lawrence only played 3 quarters as he helped the Longhorns race out to a big lead. And the final nominee is the Colony's Miles Price. He gets the nomination for this one play. With 18 seconds left, the Cougars ran the perfect hook and ladder play, as Price took the pitch from Keith Miller and goes 40 yards for the game-winning upset win over Lone Star. It was a spectacular ending to a spectacular game. Find out who gets the bobblehead this Saturday at 6:30 p.m. on Wingstop Inside High School Sports. Also on the show, we'll have a great story on how a couple of Lakeview Centennial Spirit Group members went to Children's Medical City to help throw a special Halloween party. You won't want to miss that. Let's take a look at this week's rankings. Another week, another runaway win for the Allen Eagles. They stay at number 1 in 6A with a 43-14 win over Jesuit. Duncanville passed their last test of the regular season by stomping Pierce 49-7 to remain at number 2. South Lake Carroll is still at 3 by taking care of business against Fossil Ridge. The Dragons won that game 47-26. There is a new number 4 team this week. It's Cedar Hill. After falling out of the rankings with a loss to Summit, the Longhorns bounced back with an impressive win over previously 4th-ranked Lake Ridge. And rounding out the top 5 is Halton. The Buffaloes are 7-0 after beating Abilene 28-14. In 5A, Highland Park wasn't tested by Samuel and beat them 49-0 to remain at 1. Aledo also had an easy time of it by rolling Cleburne 56-20. The Bearcats probably won't have a close game until deep in the playoffs. Denton Ryan is still at 3 as they wrecked Creekview 59-21. In 7 games, the Raiders defense has scored on 3 interceptions, 4 fumbles, a safety, and a blocked field goal. Now that's a stout unit. Frisco Reedy remains at 4 with a 40-14 win over Braswell. And with the Lone Star loss this week, we have a new number 5. It's Mesquite Poteet. With last week's 61-21 win over Wiley East, the Pirates are at 6-1 and solidly in our top 5. Now it's time for the cool down. Big news for Coppell's Jonathan McGill. The safety announced his commitment to SMU on the 17th. Congrats, Jonathan.
At LD Bell, there was a very special pep rally put on by the Thompson Group at Classic Chevy. The Blue Raider football team was given the opportunity to thank all the spirit groups who have been cheering them on all season. It was a wonderful way for them to show their appreciation, and at the end of it all, the Thompson Group presented LD Bell with a check for $1,000.
The biggest turnout, I think it was the best pep rally that we've had in recent years since we've been doing this. And I'm really excited to see what we can do next year. This is going to be a hard one to beat.
The Colleyville Heritage women's basketball team went off the court to bond as a team. They took a trip to a team-building campsite and spent the weekend doing tasks to build camaraderie amongst themselves. Our very own Pat Doney brings us this one. At Cedar Hill, they have a DJ helping them pump up for their game at First Lake Ridge. And seeing as they won 42-17, he must do a pretty good job. Last but not least, Mr. Theo Weiss, our bobblehead winner, said it was a dream come true, getting his Card Shield MVP lifelike bobblehead on Wingstop Inside High School Sports. I'd have to say it looks quite a bit like him. I'm still waiting on my bobblehead, but as I and you all wait, be sure to follow our social platforms. We have Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. They will help you stay in the loop with all things going on in the Texas high school football world. Following will also get you ready for Saturday when Wingstop Inside High School Sports on NBC5 at 6:30 p.m. comes on. I hope you're ready for the shakeups that are going to happen this week in high school football. I'm Ashley Bullington, and thank you for watching The Warmup.